Good morning, everyone. Good morning in Germany. Welcome to this journey. We are so happy to have you here at Viaje Global, Alemania. Bienvenidos a Viaje Global en su tercera edición en el año 2021 como país invitado, Alemania. Gracias a todos los que nos acompañan el día de hoy en este evento de presentación del proyecto HEPCoPa Project, en el que participa la Asociación Colombiana de Universidades ASCUN. Nos alegra mucho tenerlos a ustedes en este espacio. Estaremos en vivo aquí compartiendo con ustedes los avances y los resultados hasta ahora de este proyecto. Estaremos también conectados en Zoom para aquellas personas que nos quieran acompañar en este espacio. Mientras tanto, los invitamos a que en el chat nos dejen por favor su nombre, la institución y la ciudad desde la que nos acompañan para poder conocer un poco más de los participantes que están el día de hoy. Les quiero contar que Viaje Global se siguió consolidando durante el año 2021. Esta es una iniciativa desarrollada desde el año 2020 por la Fundación Universitaria del Área Andina, articulando actividades de internacionalización en casa que favorecieran el relacionamiento externo de nuestra comunidad con el objetivo de democratizar los procesos de formación de ciudadanos globales y generar alternativas a los procesos de movilidad académica presenciales fuertemente golpeados durante la pandemia. Para este año, entonces, Viaje Global sumó importantes aliados. Conscientes de la importancia del trabajo colaborativo, se consolida entonces una alianza estratégica entre la Fundación Universitaria del Área Andina y la Asociación Colombiana de Universidades para el Desarrollo, que además integró en cada destino a un grupo de universidades colombianas dentro del comité organizador. Para este recorrido virtual por Alemania, hacen parte de la estructura académica y logística del evento la Universidad EIA, la Universidad de Ciencias Aplicadas y Ambientales UTCA y la Universidad de Ibagué. Asimismo, contamos con importantes aliados del país estratégico, en esta oportunidad Alemania, como son el Instituto Sprach, el Consejo de Rectores de Alemania HRK por sus siglas en inglés, el Instituto Colombo-Alemán para la Paz CAPAZ, el restaurante alemán Harald, el Instituto Leibniz, el Servicio Alemán de Intercambio Académico, el DAT, y por supuesto en esta ocasión nos acompaña la Universidad de Potsdam. A los aliados nacionales e internacionales les enviamos un cordial saludo y reiteramos un especial agradecimiento por acompañarnos y por el apoyo brindado durante la organización durante este mes. Y esperamos que todos ustedes disfruten de este recorrido por este maravilloso país. Para dar entonces apertura formal a este evento, I want to give you a big thank you to each of you to be here. Thank you for your kind response. And Yin Yang, I want to thank you as well as Nadine, Hendrik, Jörg, and Frank. We are very honored to have you here right now. So if everyone are getting ready, let's start. So Nadine, welcome.
Welcome, Laura. Buenos dias. Hello. And I'll take the opportunity to actually hand over to my colleague Xinyan, also from the University of Potsdam.
Hi, and good morning to Colombia. And my name is Xinyan Wang. I'm from the University of Potsdam. I'm very happy to hear. I speak for actually all of my colleagues here. Very happy and honored to be here to be the representatives of the project and HEPCoPa. I will start with the presentation and then followed with a presentation from my colleagues. So let me just share my screen with you. Okay, so HEPCoPa is an international cooperation project with several main goals in the higher education management, digitalization, and quality management. Here is a short agenda of the day. We'll start with a small game, and I will explain it later. And I will then introduce the project, and I then give the words to my colleagues for the main outputs of the project. And we'll have a Q&A round 1 after the introduction of the project. And then we'll come to an interesting part, framework and conditions for education management in Germany, and then followed with a second round of Q&A. So let us start with a guessing game. So basically, I will show you some pictures taken in Germany or Colombia. You should guess where the picture taken based on hints or characteristics. So let me share with you the first picture. You will have a moment to guess, and feel free to answer as quick as possible if you know the answer. So we see a traffic circle, green city with some building in the surrounding areas, very busy. In which country would it be? Oh, I see chat. Laura, you see any answers in the chat already?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. What are the answers?
Tokyo, Germany, Colombia, Germany.
Okay. Wow, that's interesting answer. Also Tokyo. Actually, this picture would take place in Medellin. It's a 3D or a three-dimensional traffic circle in Medellin. Normally, you would say, well, it might be in Germany too. But my colleagues correct me. I haven't seen a traffic circle like this with several layers in Germany. So that's in Medellin for the first picture. So let's move on. The second one. Well, fall weather. Any answers, Laura?
No, no yet.
Not yet. Okay, let's just wait for a second. Okay, so I think, let me just share another picture with you, or Laura, any answers?
Yeah, Germany,
Yeah,
Potsdam,
Germany.
falling
Potsdam.
Germany.
No, Germany for sure. Yeah, Potsdam is not that correct. Let me just show you the hint. So that's a sign of water supply installation in Berlin. So basically, there's the sign and you see the meters. So the distance between the sign and the water supply installation. Okay, that's the second picture. So let's move on. Another one. Oh, a street view. Nothing special. Any answers yet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Colombia.
Okay. Oh, Colombia. What did you see?
USA. Another answer.
Okay, so why it is in Colombia? It could be in Germany.
The car plates.
Very good. Very good. 1 point. That's true. So you see the yellow license plate. In Germany, we will have something like this. So also a license plate, but in white. And on the left side, you see the symbol of the European Union. And D is for Germany, Deutschland. So that's a picture taking place in Bogota. Okay, the next one. Very good review, good weather. So what about this picture? Any answers?
Berlin, Germany.
Okay. Okay, that's a bit obvious. Sorry. Yes, it's a Berlin TV tower, very, very small at this picture, but actually it looks like this. Yeah. Okay, that must be the last one. We are coming to the topic. So this is the first sign. What could it be? She's not writing. Any answers?
No yet.
Not yet. Let's wait. Okay, maybe another hint. Okay, it took place in a lecture hall. Could be in Colombia, in Germany. What do you think? Is there any response?
Anyone here say Colombia?
Colombia. Oh, okay. So actually, that was my hand. And well, it took place in Germany. And it's the famous academic knock, I would say. That was a shock for me. At first, I didn't start my bachelor in Germany. So after a lecture series, everyone started knocking the table, made a big noise. I wasn't sure what was happening, but it's actually applause at the end of the lecture. So it was took in Germany. Okay, that was a short intro, little game. Now we come to the main topic. So let me introduce to you the HEPCoPa project. Maybe it's also a cultural difference. We use a very so many abbreviations in Germany. The funding program is called DEES Partnership. It's a dialogue on innovative higher education strategies. And HEPCoPa means Higher Education Partnership, Colombia and Potsdam. So basically, it's a funding program from the DAD. It's the German Academic Exchange Service. The program has its goals like improve the management of university structures and resources, and strengthen internationalization and increase the international competitiveness of all the participating institutions. So the funding is provided for cooperations between the university in Germany and in emerging developing countries in fields of university management. And the project is designed for the scientists and like lecturers, professors, as well as administrative staffs and multipliers in the relevant field. Very important, who can apply. Basically, if it's a Colombian university, you have to find a partner, which is a state and a state or state recognized German universities, but in particular, who could apply, that will be the senior staff in the central university management, for example, the chancellor of the university in our case, and management of cross-sectional institutions such as international office, like career services and so on, but also deans and faculty management. They can also apply. I have a news regarding this funding program since June 2021. It's now called SDG Partnership, and I also give you the links. So you can check, are there any differences to the old program? Okay, what does it mean, HEPCoPa? We have our project goals. It would be the optimized institutional management and the strengthening of the future-oriented fields of application like digitalization and quality management, but in the context of teaching and learning. So imagine you will start a lecture, a cooperative lecture. There are several departments in each university which should be involved. For example, the administration, how they give credit to the students, but also the lecturers, they will they have to have a platform working together. They will have the same, they should have the same interests, but also to the students, how you advertise a lecture to the students. You may use, for example, social media. So these are the aspects that we consider during our project. And we have partner institutions from Colombia. We are from the University of Potsdam, and of course, ASCUN, and Pontificia Universidad Javeriana, section Cali, as well as Universidad de Caldas and Universidad Pontificia Bolivariana, section Bucaramanga. So the project leader, as I said, is Mr. Carsten Gerloff. He is the chancellor of the university. So from the right side, you see we have several outcomes and outputs from each subgroups. We have the subgroups Higher Education Management, led by Mr. Gerloff and Hendrik Voite, and Digitalization by Jörg Hafer, and Quality Management by Frank Niedermeyer. So basically, one more thing. At the top, you see input. The funding program is deficiency financing from the DAD. Let's move on. Here you see basically the timeline of the project. We actually started in April 2019, and that, before that we have the fact funding mission, so that the partners can get together. And afterwards, we sent a German delegation to Colombia through several funding possibilities. And after that, April 2019 in Bucaramanga, and then October 2019 in Potsdam. Afterwards, we have a strike from the pandemic. So we did 3 virtual project weeks. But actually, we discovered that even during the pandemic and during the post-pandemic area, even the topics we are chosen are, you get more importance even. For example, the higher education management, they have to react very quickly to the changing surrounding area, but also digitalization and quality management of the digital courses. So, and then this year, well, a couple months ago, we had a project week in Potsdam. And I think, well, 20 days ago, we were in Manizales for the project week. And there are 2 more project weeks yet to come, one in Potsdam and one in Bogota in the next year. Okay, so how does the project week work? We have a steering committee, consists of representatives from partner institutions, as well as the project coordinator. And there is a tradition that we have workshops, panel discussion, and sub-project working time that they can work on their own sub-project goals. But also we invited throughout these years many experts, for example, from CINDA, CAPAS, and EDUC, and much more. But also we are very open-minded for more topics, except for higher education management, quality management, as well as e-learning. That was a picture taken in Potsdam. Okay, so that was my part. I think, I hope I'm in time. I will now give you the floor, Hendrik, to introduce us some main outcomes from the subgroup Higher Education Management.
So thank you for that little introduction, and a very warm welcome from my side as well. And it's now up to me to give you, as announced, some deeper insight to one of the sub-projects in detail regarding the management subgroups. As Jinjiang already announced or indicated, there are 3 subgroups, and I am member of the management subgroup, so I can explain you a little bit more regarding our work. So this will concentrate on the background, what was the basic reason to initiate that subgroup, and what is our approach, what were the goals, the intended goals, and what did we reach so far. So please let me proceed. And I will start with a little abbreviation. I mean, the world is full of abbreviations, and here's another one. Maybe you know what VUCA means. VUCA. VUCA is something quite new and means volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And that is exactly how scientists actually describe our current world. So, and I think that is very correct, even for our working environments, since we in the higher education sector are faced with volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. We face always new challenges. We are confronted with new goals, with new circumstances around us, and so on. And so VUCA perfectly describes our own world. And when living in a VUCA world, people tend, as I wrote here, to look for orientation or established procedures. They are looking to have some guidelines in a way, yeah. And as I already mentioned, in the working environment. And here we think it might help to use in that context strategic thinking. And that's why we established our little subgroup, our project regarding management. And the background here, I summarized it once again. Since we are faced with complex challenges in our daily life, and are forced to develop our own profiles in a unique way to secure our future competitiveness, we need some guideline how we can do this. And here we want to help not only ourselves, but our partners as well, and all the other higher education institutions who are interested in the same strategic thinking. So our approach is that we want to analyze specific situations that can be found in our own institution or in our partner institutions, and then use the theories and models of management to reflect this and find possible solutions, maybe already established in the business world, adapted to the higher education sector, and then address our problem. Furthermore, we want to exchange our experiences in using management tools and theories and learn from our partners how to improve this. And last but not least, we want to shift our findings to the higher education world around us in Germany or even in Colombia. That's why our planned outcomes are first, but not only, and we want to encourage and promote this idea of strategic thinking and usage of management tools. We want to raise the awareness of different organizational and managerial schools and help, therefore, to reduce the risk and threats in the challenges we face and indicated in before. So our specific approach is the following. You might know the so-called strategy building process. This is a process scientists or theory describes how to develop a good strategy in your institution regarding an overall challenge or some specific challenges. And this strategy building process consists of different phases. You find the phases here already shown, and the phase one, the strategic goals, can be described, or the goal is basically to identify the overall achievements you want to reach. In the second phase, you look for specific tools how you can estimate your internal and external environment. In the phase of strategic options, you collect all the possibilities, opportunities, how to solve the question, the questions you face, and then you do the strategic choice. You decide for one of the possible opportunities, and last but not least, you try to implement it in a perfect way. So let me switch to the next slide. We dedicated to each of these phases, and in these phases we looked for exemplary tools you can use, and these tools we adapted to specific challenges, specific questions. For instance, in the phase of the environmental analysis, the company analysis, we used the PESTEL analysis. This is a tool you can use for a structured analysis of the external environment. And here we developed a country report regarding the Colombian and German university management system. I give you a short insight here. Later on, Nadine will say something more regarding this topic. Furthermore, we did a portfolio analysis, and here we found a very current topic, the pandemic readiness assessment we did here. So that was dedicated to the question, how good were our institutions prepared to react to such a difficult question like a pandemic, like the COVID-19 pandemic. And here you can see our result. We try to estimate how rapid our decisions were, how consequent our decisions were, and how appropriate they were, and compared our own self-assessment with the self-assessments of the other institutions, and therefore we could derive some consequences. Yeah, what else did we do? Sorry for that. In the phase of strategic options, we used the method of transformative scenario planning to develop some future working models. So the question was, how can our working future develop, taking into account all the specific environmental influences? And for instance, the question is, after pandemic, will we travel more or less? What happens to tuition fees? How can they develop? And therefore, we try to derive possible scenarios. In the phase of strategic choice, sorry, we use the method of interactive backcasting. Once again, attacking a very current and emerging questions, and not only in Germany, even around the world. Also, higher education institutions are faced or confronted with cyber attacks. And it's very important to have some good, or have a good strategy in mind how to react to that, not only regarding IT, but also regarding organizational reaction, public relations, communications, and so on. And therefore, we developed a cyber attack strategy for the University of Potsdam, which we are glad to provide to everybody who's interested in that. Yeah. Once again, only a short insight to that. And now, in the next workshops we have in front of us, we will dedicate to the question of strategy implementation. Needs to be done, as you see here. Maybe we'll find tools, once again, to facilitate that phase. If you have developed a good strategy, how can you implement it so that everybody knows it, everybody knows what to do, and it is well communicated, and so on. So still to come in our little sub-project, phase of strategy implementation. But furthermore, and very important for us, the improved dissemination of all results. That's why we are very proud to present our ideas here in this Zoom meeting. And then we want to consolidate our results. And yeah, we already started with thinking about how can we improve our HEPCoPa project and shift it to HEPCoPa 2.0 or HEPCoPa 2, where we want to broaden our alliance and include more partners. That's from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the management subgroup. Thank you, Hendrik. And so the next subgroup.
Yeah, that's me. Hello, I'm Jörg Hafer. I'm part of the subgroup Digitalization, which is a little bit, it's not correct anymore. We started with the title Digitalization, but we learned that digitalization really affects all parts and all parts of university and of the project. So what the aim is of this SAP project, it's in the forehand to create international collaborative teaching and learning experiences. And though that is what we tried the last years. What does that mean to create international teaching and learning experiences? We tried to, or we worked on that we establish and deepening the professional networks between digital learning and teaching professionals from both countries. We design and implement cooperative and collaborative courses. This was also a heavy effect the last 2 years from pandemic. Furthermore, our goals of this project also is the evaluation of the frameworks and the pilots we conducted, and to plan and to bring follow-up activities on the way. What we have achieved so far is that we conduct a case study between 2 e-learning support departments in 2 higher education institutions. This was in the Universidad Pontificia Bolivariana in Bucaramanga and the University of Potsdam. We started one course pilot, which calls the Intercultural Handbook of the ELI classroom, which is about Spanish at the second language. And it was a cooperative work between 2 teachers also from Bucaramanga and Potsdam. We have one course in progress, one in development, which will take place in the next year, which is about differences in the educational systems and in the educational field of management between 2 lecturers from Colombia and Germany. And right now we are starting a lecture series which started developed the last month about societal transformation processes. And I will tell you a little bit more about this lecture series, because this is a kind of really cool project which have very good, which give a great opportunity to work together. So we thought about a couple of months ago how we can adopt the situation to have on the one hand a lot of online courses, and on the other hand a lot of difficulties to conduct normal, or let's say regular courses in the universities. So, and we came with the idea to have a lecture series to bring German and Colombian lecturers, teachers, researchers together to talk about a common topic. And this topic we choose was societal transformation processes, which was kind of, which was a good forecast, because this is right now really one of the hottest topics in politics, as we know. And what we have accomplished so far is that we have now 10 lectures with 11 speakers from Colombia and Germany. And the lecture series will take place between November and March. So starting actually next week, it's open for students, researchers, and all interested parties. And it's very easy to join our lecture series because it was also streamed in the YouTube channels. And we have also online course and accompanying activities. So actually the next week we will start with a very nice lecture from a very known expert, Dr. Lillistam. It's from a Potsdam Research Institute, and he will give a talk about the policies and instruments for decarbonization, which is really a very important topic to, I think, both countries, to Colombia and Germany, but also, to the future of the Earth, actually, in the next couple of years. And yeah, have a look at our website. We have really interesting interdisciplinary approaches and talks from different fields of science and research, including design, health policy, education, and so on. And you are very welcome to join this lecture series. That's from my side, and I hand over to my colleague Frank.
Thank you very much, Jörg. If you stop the sharing, thank you. I will share my presentation. It's a pleasure for me to present what we have been doing and what we try to still achieve in the subgroup quality management. And I'm talking also here for the remaining participants of this subgroup. And thank you, Jörg, for being so quick, so I can take a bit more time maybe because I have some more slides than you. That's wonderful. And I have to excuse all the colleagues because they saw this slide already 200 times probably and will start yawning now. But it's kind of, let's say, the context for what we are doing in the quality management of teaching and learning. And it's very important, I think, to reflect about that quality assurance or evaluation, actually where this comes from, has different functions. And on the one hand, it's the function of knowledge gain, to gain new knowledge about something, about a project, about a program, to control, to make sure, for example, that certain minimum standards are set, or to actually really control in the real sense, to be sure that somebody is doing what they should be doing. To legitimize, so in the higher education sector, to make, to show donors, to show the public, to show society that actually the money is spent well, and also to develop. And this is actually the area which we want to focus on. And the different quality assurance approaches we use today, I think, all around the world, more or less, address these different functions in different ways, more or less, some more or less, some more on the control side, some more on the development side. So there is different mixtures, I would say. And also usual QA approaches in teaching and learning make use of self-assessment. And with this picture, I try to kind of show you what the problem might be with self-assessment or self-evaluation. Then there is, oh, that was too quick, sorry. Then there is the internal evaluation where, yes, somebody maybe from the same institution looks at the program, yeah, but maybe he doesn't really get the full picture, just a part of it. And is maybe also a bit too near to what we're looking at. And last but not least, the classical, which is usually called accreditation in many different countries. You have external evaluation, where the picture might be a bit more skewed, a bit too far. Maybe the assessors who are sitting downstairs in front of the people who are being assessed don't really get the full picture, don't really understand the institution fully. Yes, so we want to work kind of on that and really, as I said, focus on the developmental part, because we think that all these three other types are maybe not perfect for development. So they have parts of it, and I'm not saying they are bad or anything, and they're good for per se, but I think the idea behind this is that we thought there's need for more for the sake of development. So we planned 2 pilots also, like in the case for digitalization, to design new forms of quality development practices. And we want to implement these practices at 2 different points of time, and then hopefully initiate follow-up activities by study programs. So this is on the study program level. And after that, also to transfer our gained knowledge within these pilots, so more on content basis, but also on the side of the methods we have used and will be using. And this picture tries to maybe to kind of show that our approach, which is, well, international, the picture is not showing anything international, but to show an exchange, a peer exchange on eye level, so on same level. So this is not about anyone looking at someone else. This is about being around this, a table and discussing together. It's learning from each other's practices, it's questioning others and being questioned. It's trying to have irritation by different contexts and to try to understand each other, and also very much to look at self-reflection of what the own doing is in the study programs. The subgroup, not all of the partners of HEPCoPa are taking part. So these are the partners, and we have 3 study programs in the area of political sciences. From one from the Universidad de Caldas with Julián Orozco Espina being part of the subgroup, from the Pontificia Universidad Javeriana Cali with Fabián Ramirez joining also in the subgroup. And Elizabeth Bernal Gamboa from ASCUN, who was also very helpful and always supportive in our quests. What did we do until now? The pandemic somehow struck us, like everyone. Our project was very much about the people, getting people together in presence. So we kind of had a bit of a pause and interruption during the very first lockdowns. And but then we made use of actually the situation, kind of made the best out of the situation, and did also some common workshops more on the digital semesters, comparing results from evaluation on the digital semesters. We did a common survey. We did a workshop on student evaluation. So we thought we used the time a bit more to get to know each other's systems of quality assurance, to then resume finally the pilot projects in April 2021 of this year, and finally having a hybrid mode of this QA approach in August in Potsdam, and with quite some joining us digitally. And now in October, we had the possibility to together reflect upon our first pilot. So what does pilot mean? It means that we offer a space for these programs for structured exchange on self-set topics. So we're not going there and telling the programs, you have to work on this or on that, but that was the really initial discussions when we had our kickoff meeting with everyone. So they decided upon which topics they wanted to work on. Then it's very much about common and individual reflection on these discussions and exchanges. And what we also have is the perspectives of different stakeholders. So we have different levels, let's say, from the students to the lecturers, the professors, the directors of the program, and the leadership of the faculty or department. And these are some methods we have been using, or which we have been adapting. On the one hand, the bench learning method, which is very much about showing and discussing each other's practices and learning from that. The collegial audit is meant as a reverse audit, meaning that one side is questioning the other side for the purpose of getting to know how they are doing certain things. It's not about assessment though in the end, so there won't be some kind of judgment or anything. It's more for the auditor in this case to learn for himself. Then we have data-driven exchange, meaning that we discuss on the basis of data, of comparison of data, for example. And again, here the reflection as one of the main important things within these pilots. You can see here, this was our kickoff meeting digitally in July of this year. And Fabian Ramirez is just, I think, presenting the study program at his university. And here we also discussed the different topics we wanted to work on. And this is the harder topic. So we first also surely with these different contexts had to get to know each other's higher education system, which is not so easy, and it takes quite some time to really understand the differences and how it works. Then we had the pleasure to work on digital teaching and learning. So how did the study programs react? And this, given that we had some data on it, also common data on the basis of this data. So also discussing what these results from students and teachers' evaluation mean. Then we also had the interesting topics of connecting research and teaching and learning, and connecting practice and teaching and learning, where the study programs, presented to each other how they are doing these connections, and then went on discussing on this. So here you can see this is the hybrid setting. We were working on the one hand in a small group in Potsdam with Colombian participants and from Potsdam. And then we also had some participants, or more participants actually, online joining us. And we were working quite interactively with online boards. What's happening next? So we are currently in the phase of still reflecting and looking at what the first pilot was, to then prepare a second pilot in March, April of next year. Again, having the reflection about the learnings and the approaches to then hopefully being able to say hello again to the crowd here present today, and transfer some of our results for those who are interested. Yes, and I think with that, that's all from me. I hope this was not too long. I didn't look at the time, I'm sorry.
Don't worry, Frank. Thank you very much for introduce us to the project. And before to continue to the next part of this presentation, I want to ask all of our participants if does anyone have anything else to say or any questions to share with our guest. Oh, here's one. What type of research is related to this project? Asked Vanessa Vargas.
Is this meant for the overall project, or if I may ask?
Yes, she said yes. Which are the results that you expect?
So I don't know, Yunyan, do you want, or shall we all?
I guess we all can submit to the answer. From my point of view, this is not a typical research project like you expected from scientists. We are not scientists itself. So we all studied, we are experts in our field of application, but this is not a real scientific research project. We want to define our fields of application a little bit more and want to strengthen our capabilities here. And at the final end, we want to professionalize the tools we use, and we want to share our experiences with our partners in Colombia or even in the world, and see what can we do better in a way. That maybe as introduction. The others may complement me.
Yes, interesting, because research is a topic for the funding program SDG. It's not a DEES partnership anymore since June this year, but SDG. But I think in the context of higher education management, just as Hendrik mentioned, maybe how to support the research processes. How can we provide like infrastructure and funding for research projects. Yes.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else, maybe Frank, you want to add something? Or Nadine?
I think Henrik put it in the correct way. So speaking that we are applying here, and what we try is to develop the areas which we are working in, and that together between Colombia and Germany. And so I think this is kind of the main idea behind the project, and it's about higher education management. And I think if we want to develop it, it surely also has some aspects of research, but I also wouldn't say that this project is a research project.
Okay, thank you very much. You want to say something, Jörg?
Yeah, I can.
Go ahead.
Just
Sure.
I can extend the positions or the arguments from my colleagues, because we are not expecting research facts or results by the end. On the other hand, also way to bring forward cooperative online international learning is kind of design-based activity, but it's not a hard rigor of scientific research. It's more like design-based research and evaluation. So they are more soft research goals and knowledge we can generate.
Okay, thank you very much. Vanessa Vargas says, it is great to see how multicultural is this project from the creators. Excellent team, congratulations from Universidad de Caldas. And here's another question. Which difficulties have you faced so far?
If I may.
How much time we have?
No, I was just saying the easy answer is, of course, COVID, which has made it hard to actually have exchange, because international projects live by actually meeting. So if you cannot do that, and actually on a second note, if everybody at the university is busy, even though the topics might fit into it, or later on you can say digitization and e-learning fits into the COVID problem, still you would firstly like solve it at your own institution. So people you could normally involve much more easily in such a project would be busy keeping the university up. So I think this was definitely a challenge that we had to face.
And a big challenge, I guess, for all of us was to get to know the Colombian higher education system. I mean, basically we do the same, but in detail we do it in a very different way. And to understand all the differences, yeah, for instance, from my point of view, the financing system in Colombia is totally different from the German one. So if you want to talk regarding this, about this, then you have to understand it, and that needs a lot of explanations. Yeah? So we didn't expect the need of time to prepare our project. Yeah? So we had to adapt our timeline a little bit, which we didn't expect.
And maybe I just as a last point, so but it's in the same direction of what has just been said. In the quality management, the challenge was really how to get to the people to know each other. So, and it was only online, and this made everything more difficult in commitment, in taking part, in getting to know each other, in getting to know the systems. But on the other hand, I think we learned that it's also a way of working together, or even though you don't have gotten to know the other person in person yet. So that I think was also a positive side there.
Yes, I couldn't agree more with my colleagues. And I think One difficulty would be to integrate the new members because of the switch of personnel in the institutions, how to integrate them in a digital way. Well, like I said, and I think that was a, a comment from our colleague from the quality management subgroup. The good ideas are generated during the coffee break. So how could you integrate them in a virtual way and in a virtual coffee break? And how could you manage the hybrid mode? I think these are also the difficulties, but I think we overcome them so far, so good.
Thank you very much. Okay, if there aren't any questions, we can continue to the second part of this presentation. So I give you the word to Nadine.
Okay. Hello to everybody. Buenos días. Me llamo Nadine, trabajo en la Universidad de Potsdam como advisor for structural development, whatever that means. So I work for the Chancellor's office, and I'm also involved in this project in the management group. I'm now going to share my screen as everybody else and tell you a little bit about the, one second, I have to see what I'm talking about. I'll talk about the country report, which basically the problems we were just talking about, like how hard it is to understand the other culture. The culture is one part, but also the other higher education system. And we went through that project and have been gaining knowledge about that. So us as Germans would now know better about the Colombian system, and the Colombian participants would know better about the German participants. But we thought, okay, we are maybe 10, 15 people in the project, but it would be nice if more people could learn about it. And this is why two documents have been created, both named a Framework and Conditions for Higher Education Management in Germany or Colombia, or Short Country Report, which basically try to explain all that background knowledge and put it into a document of 35, 40 pages. So expect to hopefully not be bored, but to get a little bit of input. I'll speak for about 15 minutes. And then, and also during whatever I'm saying, just type questions into the chat, because I'm trying to go through the main aspects of this report. And the goal is to share that knowledge with you and give you a little insight in why the German, I'm only going to speak about the German higher education system, because A, I know that one better, and B, we could have invited our Colombian counterparts, as Margarita here following us, which is great, but we thought for you it might be more interesting, since it's a Viaje Global Alemania, to learn about Germany. So off I go. Welcome to Germany. This is what you might know about Germany: cars, sausages, schnapps, which is like aguardiente, like some spirit, beer. So this is the country. It has 80 million people approximately, is situated in the heart, center of Europe. And yeah, 80 million Germans. Of that, are not all of them are Germans. About 14% are foreigners, just like myself. I'm an Austrian. And 20,000 people are from Colombia. This is from the year 2020. You might think, because there are certain statistics about Germany, like for example, that Germany is the world's fourth largest economy, which is quite a big thing for a country of 80 millions, while being a resource poor country. So why is that? And there are many reasons for it. One of it is that it's a very innovative economy. So it has potential and is very good at making new stuff. So this is partly because of the industry, but partly also because there's a close link between the higher education system and the industry. So German businesses spend heavily on R&D, or research and development. Wait, let me see. Does this move forward? Yes. On the other hand, Germany has a problem. Its people are old. So that demographic change is happening, which means in terms of students, in the next 20 years, far less students are expected to be there at the university. So they're expecting a decline of 10 to 15%. When you see like how many babies are born and how many people usually attend university, which is about 55% in Germany. So since the German economy so heavily relies on innovation and on people being part of the higher education and research system, the Germans thought, oh, it might be a good idea to have a lot of international students, which are already here. So there are about 375 international students in Germany amongst the student population of 2.8 million. So that transfers to a similar internationalization degree as in the general public, with about 13% of students who have an international passports. Germany still ranks as the third behind the US and the United Kingdom among top destinations for tertiary students enrolled outside their country of origin. So what I'm trying to say, that apart from the fact that this is anyways known, is that higher education and international students play a very important part in the understanding and the makeup of Germany. I'm not going to explain this graph. It's by the OECD. I just want to say two things about the structure of the German education system. It has a dual system. That means that people, like, that has an advantage and a disadvantage. I'll start with the disadvantage. Kids in Germany, when they're about fourth grade, so about 10 years old, they have a very big decision in their life, because a lot of them either go towards what is called gymnasium, but it's not for sports, like a grammar school, and some people going into Realschule, Hauptschule, which is a stream towards an apprenticeship, like towards learning a profession. The other stream is towards university. So this is dual is therefore is actually for the people who have an apprenticeship, and that's the big advantage now. So that in Germany, 86% of the country's population between the age of 25 and 64 complete upper secondary school. That means also people who go for an apprenticeship have a lot of education. But what we are talking about today is the people, and you can also come from the Realschule, so from this stream towards the university stream, but we are mainly going to talk about the top left, which is the university and University of Applied Science part, which is higher tertiary education and specifically university education. There are about 400 higher education institutions in three types, which are the universities of applied science, like a little closer to the industry, and colleges of art and music. Important, 90% of students in Germany are enrolled at a state-run higher education institution. And this has many things that follow out of that. I believe that in Colombia, and maybe I'm wrong, that it's about 50%, which are in private universities versus people enrolled in public universities. So in Germany, it's a heavy public sector, the higher education sector. The other part is the research, of course, so not only teaching, but also research is there. The research landscape is characterized by many, there are extramural, which is called, so they're just research institutes, and also university institutes, and they are closely linked. Plus, important, Germany spends a lot of money on research and development, 3.04% of the share of the GDP. So that is important. Now I'm going to speak about legal requirements, and three of them are very important because they make up many of the understanding of the inside understanding of Germany's higher education sector. And they are constitutional rights. So they're in the Grundgesetz or constitution in Germany. Freedom of research and teaching. So any professor at a university can teach what he wants in the manner of how or she wants it. B, the cultural sovereignty of the 16 German states. That means Germany might be a country, but somehow it's 16 countries. You might have, it goes as far as to when you complete upper secondary school in a certain part of Germany, your marks might be worth less in a different part of Germany. So it's a very unique situation where the 16 German states are responsible for public school, but also for higher education. And the third very important part is vocational choice is guaranteed as an individual right of every citizen. That means, if you break it down, that university have to provide places, as many places as needed for students. So you can't say, okay, we only, in public universities, we only provide for 50% of the students who would like to study. No, you have to provide for as many students as places are needed. So as many students as who would like to study, they cannot, depending on their grades, they get allotted to different fields maybe, but as many places as needed have to be there. It also trickles down, the number two, the federal, the fact that it's a very federal republic. And don't try to read all that. I just thought I'd put it all down, then you can see it later, is that the federal state is responsible. So every federal state has its own higher education act. So there are big differences in terms of autonomy between the 16 states. Some might be very detailed regulated. Other states within Germany still are much more liberal when it comes to the budget, when it comes to appointing professors. So very fundamental when it comes to regulating study programs. So very fundamental things are very different depending on what state you're in. And by the way, we're in Brandenburg, which is around Berlin, but I'll show you later. There are two trends I would like to talk about within the last 20 years in the German higher education system. One is a general shift towards more autonomy. As we learned, the German higher education system is a very public one, so it's regulated by the state a lot. But the state has realized that it's better to be more output focused and not as much input focused. So they have what is called new public management more and more included in the handling of universities. So that's the one trend. And the more liberty you give to the institutions, as in universities, you also have to find different ways of controlling them again. So also in the last 20 years, and Frank is an expert here, quality assurance in the field of teaching has become much more important. Every new student study program has to be accredited. So there's a certain quality culture that's been implemented. Some universities, as the University of Potsdam, have gone under rigorous testing and are now what is called system accredited. So they can they can certify their own study programs basically because they have a certain quality level at the institution. So these are the two trends. Now we're coming to Brandenburg. You've seen Germany before. This is still Germany. It has the 16 states we were talking about, and the red one is Brandenburg, which is the state which is like kind of hugging Berlin. Berlin, you would also know as a capital. Brandenburg has about 2.5 million people. Its capital is Potsdam, with the University of Potsdam. Potsdam has 180,000 people. And the key sectors are media, healthcare, software and information technology, tourism services, and arts and science for Brandenburg, so for the region we're in. The region has 15 higher education institutions. I'm not going to read them all out. One of them is the University of Potsdam. And in the whole state of Brandenburg, there are 50,000 students being catered to, and importantly, whereas there are 15 higher education institutions, the University of Potsdam caters to 20,000 of them. So 40% of all students within Brandenburg study at the University of Potsdam. It was founded in 1991. Is, as I was saying, the largest university. It's what we will call a Volluniversität. So it has all different kind of study fields. It has 7 faculties. It has 2 very interesting faculties. One is the digital engineering faculty, which is, you might know SAP as a program. Its owner is Hasso Plattner, and it's the only privately funded faculty in all over Germany. So basically that dude had a lot of money and funded a faculty at the University of Potsdam. The second interesting part is that it has a faculty of health science since 2018. And in Potsdam, there are many local research institutes, just like the IASS, whose professor or one professor working there is going to give the first lecture next week. The Uni Financing, also won't go into details. Basically, the uni gets about 160 million per year from as its total budget, of which 60% come as a lump sum. About 15% come via target agreements, but also from the state. So the state financing is about 3/4, 75%. 20% the uni gets through research grants by DAD, just like our project, or by the EU, or by different organizations, and 5% come from other funds. Two things are important and positive about the financing. First is that the sort of, as we said, within Germany, the state has a very strong hand on its universities, but it is now concluding 5-year contracts within with its higher education institutions, which helps planning. And the other one, very positive and very important, is that ever since, I believe, 2017, the state of Brandenburg has a surplus in its budget. So it's basically very economically well organized state, and it's putting part of that money into its higher education institutions. So if you can see it, a 20% increase between 2015 and 19 has occurred in Brandenburg for all the higher education system. The limitation is that the total budget that is given to all the higher education system is always not the same. It's increasing, but the total is the same. So if you are getting better in a sort of competitive situation with your fellow higher education institutions, you can never get more than the total. But that is. When it comes to autonomy, I'd like to just draw a short point onto that. The University Association in Europe, which is just like ASCUN, only it's an association of all the ASCUNs. So basically what is HRK, Hochschulrektorenkonferenz in Germany, there are many of these associations over Europe, and they have sort of a mother or umbrella organization who always does a university scoreboard, autonomy scoreboard. So it looks at its members and sees how autonomous they are. It looks at the university from different angles, and as you can see, and then sort of grades them somehow. There are 4 categories. One is organizational autonomy, financial autonomy, staffing autonomy, and academic autonomy. And basically it clubs the higher education systems, in that case only Brandenburg, not all of Germany, because it is different in every state, into different groups. And as you can see, organizational, financial, and staffing wise, the state of Brandenburg, and therefore also University of Potsdam, enjoys medium low, so a rather low degree of autonomy. Whereas in academic autonomy, it is actually a high degree of autonomy. That is because, just like the University of Potsdam, who is system accredited, can certify its own study programs. If you're interested about more of that, you can find it online. It's quite an interesting comparison of the different higher education systems. In our report, we also give reasons why is UP quite strongly regulated. This is because there are 16 higher education acts within the different countries and states of Germany. They also want to regulate something. So some of the higher education acts are quite detailed in regulating many processes. For example, the process of appointment of professors. And second, due to the character as a public entity, all the general regulations that have to do with the state, with the country of Germany, also trickle down to the university, and the university has to fulfill these regulations. In the national context, however, UP would be rather averagely state regulated. So for Germany, that medium-low degree is rather normal. So this is in German comparison, it's a rather normal degree of autonomy. Yes. Now at the end, we are coming to the University of Potsdam's international profile, and I thought that is important and good to know because it shows how HEPCoPa as a project between the Colombian universities and the University of Potsdam fits into the strategy of the University of Potsdam. So the University of Potsdam has defined priority regions and strategic partners. Amongst the priority regions, there's Colombia as a country. And University of Potsdam is trying to be globally visible and wants to be a well-networked higher education institution. Also, it wants to internationalize its teaching and academic programs. It wants to create a welcoming culture on the campus, and it wants to strengthen its international competitiveness in research, knowledge, and technology transfer. So these are sort of the 5 main goals. As one very important strategic alliance, the University of Potsdam launched its European University Alliance, which is one of the 41 European alliances that the Commission is funding right now. Why is the University of Potsdam very strategically interested in Colombia? Colombia is already a focus country since 2015 because the University of Potsdam feels that there are very favorable conditions with regard to the Colombian education policy. So the state support for training of PhDs abroad, there is very high quality of Colombian schools and university, and a broad spectrum of academic subjects that can be found in Colombia. The university's interest in research cooperation, of course, is based in its own research strengths, which is geosciences, mathematics, political sciences, and Romance languages, with a special focus to Colombia as it's Spanish-speaking. There's two institutions who are partner institutions, as the Universidad de los Andes and the Universidad Nacional de Colombia, who are already priority partners. And then, of course, there's the important network of HEPCoPa universities, who is the university, the Pontificia Universidad Javeriana Sección Cali, the Universidad Pontificia Bolivariana Sección Bucaramanga, and the Universidad de Caldas y Manizales, where we just were a month ago, as well as the Colombian Association of Universities, ASCUN. So, apart from saying thank you for listening for such a long time to all of us, I and all of us are very glad that we have this HEPCoPa project and can cooperate with such good and important partners in Colombia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, you too, Nadine. Thank you, everyone. I want to, before finish our meeting, I want to ask if anyone of our participants have any questions or any thoughts to share with our guest. Okay, bye. Besides that, we will continue with this project to extracting cooperation ties with institutions in your country, as well as the close cultural ties that unite our countries. It will be, it was an honor for us to have your presentation and your support in this initiative. Thank you very much for sharing with us your project, your time, and well, we will keep making these special events for our communities and for you as well. Vanessa Vargas says, thank you very much. I hope you really enjoyed, well, this time. I don't know if you have any final thoughts to close the meeting while our participants say something. Vanessa says, it's very inspiring.
Well, from my side, thank you all. And most of all, thank you very much for the invitation so that we have the chance to present our project here. And thank you very much for the interaction.
Thank you, you too.
And maybe we can add, if you're interested in working with us in HEPCoPa and HEPCoPa 2.0, so on the next project, I guess you can get our contact details via ASCUN. So please don't hesitate to contact Laura. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, here's a link to review. Yeah, Jörg has shared a link. Go ahead.
Yeah, you can, and you are invited, very warm, to join our lecture series, My Last Word, and spread the word. Hope to see maybe one or the other of you there. Thank you very much to all of you.
Okay, thank you. Before close this meeting, I want to invite all of you to keep in touch with us and following our activities that we are prepared from Viaje Global Alemania. Antes de terminar este evento, les recordamos a todas las personas que están conectados en este espacio y a través de YouTube que continuamos con Viaje Global a Alemania. Vamos del 25 de octubre al 12 de noviembre con una serie de actividades académicas y culturales en las que queremos que ustedes nos acompañen. Recuerden, les voy a dejar en el chat un enlace para que ustedes puedan consultar la agenda de actividades. Igual también pueden ingresar a www.ascun.org.co. Ahí podrán encontrar todas las actividades que tenemos programadas. Y les dejaremos también un enlace para que ustedes puedan inscribirse y recibir toda la información. Muchas gracias por su asistencia, por su participación y nos veremos en una próxima oportunidad. We'll see you in another opportunity. Thank you very much.
Hasta la próxima, nos vemos. Chao, chao.
Chao.
Ciao.
Ciao.